Well, there's all our people. Good evening, everybody. Y'all see me and hear me okay? So good to be with you guys. If I have a
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. If it sounds like we had a couple minutes left before we get started, but if it sounds like I have a funny accent, I just got off an interview with a news station in Australia, and oh boy, they got some interesting things going on down under. They need us so bad. I was talking about DNA and nutrition and gut health, and they were just blown away by it. So I'm really fired up. I can't wait to talk to you all tonight. I hope you guys are ready to do some learning. So we'll give everybody a minute or two to jump on. And man, I'm excited about tonight. We're going to talk about health in a deep level. So where's everybody watching from? We got the Carolinas here, Nashville, Memphis, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, North Dakota, Texas, New Mexico, and then everybody's loading up. Everybody, the whole world is here. It's coming in so fast. That's awesome. Awesome. You got your crayons ready to take notes? That's awesome. You guys are nuts. We're going to have some fun tonight. I'll promise you that. So, all right. I got top of the hour, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday workshop tonight. If this is your first time and you've never heard me speak before, my name is Dr. Eric Naputi. I'm super excited to be with you all. I am flying high, super excited, so energized today. And it's not because I had some extra amped coffee today. It's because God is great and people are just getting it. They're understanding it. Last night, one second here. Here we go. Do I have a lag on the internet? It seems like it was lagging for a second. Is it sounding okay? You guys good? All you folks on social media doing good? Everybody happy, doing well? All right, perfect. Okay, let's do this. So let me tell you this. Last night, and I think there might be some of you on here that were at the workshop that I did in St. Louis, Missouri last night. So last night, it was my first time publicly, in a big way, really talking about overall health, laying out a really big picture of what health is. So tonight, I'm going to plant some seeds with everybody tonight. So I want you to pay attention. I want you to listen, not just with an open set of ears and open eyes, but also an open mind and an open heart, because I promise you the information that I'm going to share with you tonight is going to help you. And it's going to help you not just help yourself, but help other people. And what we're going to be talking about tonight really is health. You know, we do have the opportunity to change the way that healthcare is delivered and received. Can I get an amen from anybody on that? I mean, I don't know if you know this, but we live in a world right now where we're so sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're so sick and tired of being controlled. We're so sick and tired of not really being educated on what truth and what health really is. And I'm telling you, if you have your health, you have resources and assets. Trust me, I've had people come from all over the world to see me. And they've said, Doc, I would pay any price, travel any distance, do anything to get my health back. Because once you have your health, then you can do things differently. You can spend time with other people differently. And life is better when you've got health. The problem is most people don't even know what health really is. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit tonight, very similarly to what I did last night on a workshop in St. Louis, Missouri, that quite honestly was one of the biggest, how do I say this? I got some amazing positive feedback from the group last night, and some of my team was there to hear me say it, and they were blown away by it. So then I trained my doctors today in St. Louis and our team a little bit deeper about the science of you and about health, and how what we're doing in the grand scheme of things really is the present and the future of healthcare. So let me ask you this, and I really want you all to listen to this, and I want you to hear what I'm about to say to you, because most people don't know what health really is. And I want you to start asking people, if you're going to have small groups, or if you're meeting with people one-on-one, or if you're with your friends or at church or whatever, and the topic of health comes up, because it comes up every day. It comes up every day with so many people, especially now more than ever. But I want you to ask people, what does it mean to be healthy? If I say to you, you're a healthy person, what does that mean to you? Everybody has a little different definition of it, but it's essentially the same thing. And most people will tell you, and I've asked literally millions of people this question, and the most common responses that I get is, well, I look good, I feel good, I don't have any pain, and those are the most common answers. And I would agree. I want you to look good. I want you to feel good. I want you to not have pain. I want you to have energy. I want you to be able to do the things that you want to do with the people you want to do it with and not have to worry about sickness or disease. But here's my question to you. Is that really the definition of health? And the answer is no. Because here's the reality. The reality is this. How many of you know people that look good and felt good and wham, dropped dead of a heart attack? Or look good and felt good and left their doctor with a diagnosis of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, something bad with them, and they didn't even know it. And cancer is a great example. Did you know on average, the average person has cancer cells in their body developing and growing for 5 to 7 years before the time a symptom of cancer actually presents itself? And that person thought they looked good and felt good. I just had a really dear friend of mine say to me the other day, and you probably say this or have people say this as well. They say, look, my daughter's totally healthy. She looks great. She's 28 years old, but she's just got diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Well, let me tell you something, sister. She's not healthy. She wasn't healthy. The fact that we cannot base our health off of how we look and how we feel is so paramount. That is one of the shifts that has to happen. We have got to make shift happen. Somebody write that down. Shift happen. We've got to make shift happen. And one of the shifts we've got to get to happen is people got to understand that just because you look good and feel good doesn't mean that you're healthy. Health is about function. It's about function. I want to talk to you about functional health and functional medicine, the evolution of where it came from and where it is and where it's going and where we are in the literally the catbird seat. This organization is literally in the catbird seat of everything that men, women, and children need access to. So health is not about how you look and feel. It's how you function. Please remember that. Write that down. It's how you function. And the reality is functionality has to be tested. It's based off of physiology. Write this down. We don't guess, we test. We don't guess, we test. That's what we do. Health is how you function, but you got to test it. We got to know. That's what I love about functional nutrition and functional medicine. I mean, I love seeing patients. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. Okay. It's a fun. I love it. It's exciting. The toughest part about it is explaining to people, right? Because if I can just say, just do this and don't even ask me any questions, they'll get better. But you got to communicate to people so that they'll understand it and they'll do it. But when we talk about health and we talk about function, I want to give you an idea of something that I talk about all the time. And this is a huge statement that needs to be made. And you need to remember this and you need to write this down and you need to talk to people about it. We already talked about health is not how you feel, it's how you function. And that we don't guess, we test. But the reality is this, is that the quality of your health is in direct proportion to the quality of the health of your cells. If you have healthy cells, in your body, you're going to have healthy tissues. If you have healthy tissue, you're going to have healthy organs. If you have healthy organs, you're going to have a healthy organism, which is you, the human being. And if you're a healthy human being, you're not going to have symptoms and your chances of sickness and disease go down drastically. But here's the reality. The reality is this. Everybody dies. Y'all know that? I don't know if you know this, but we don't make it through this experience that we're having on this earthly world alive. Nobody does, right? I hate to break it to you. And doing the right nutrients and eating the right foods and understanding what health is will help you live a more productive, abundant life. I want to be 120 years old, doing what I want, when I want, how I want to do it, with who I want to do it, not bound to sickness and disease. And I want to be able to have energy to do those things with my great-great-grandchildren. And I don't know about you, but I want to leave a legacy of health and abundance and not sickness and disease. How many of you in your family have curses, generational curses of sicknesses and diseases? If you understand what we're talking about, the science of you and understanding the DNA, understanding the bacterial DNA, understanding how all of this goes together, we can break that generational curse. So here we go. This is what I want you to understand. And if you couldn't tell, I'm a little fired up. I'm just excited about life. I'm excited about where we're at. I'm excited about the opportunities that we have to not only change the way that healthcare is delivered, but to change the future forever as people know it. Health is the most important asset for so many people, and it really should be the most important asset for almost everyone. And some people say, well, that's not okay. My relationship with God is my first, and I agree with you. But isn't the body the temple for the Holy Spirit? And how can you have that connection with your Creator if you don't have that temple working well? I'm going to tell you that you can't. So let's talk about what health really is. It's about function. It's not just about the cells. It's about the other side, the left-hand side of the cells. It's about your DNA, your nucleotides, your chromosomes, your telomeres, and your genetics. So let's talk about the science and health of you. So I laid this out for the community last night. And what I'm going to do is I'll get the video, because I recorded last night. I'll get the video. I'll send it to our team. I'll have our team edit it, and hopefully they can put that video out there. It's me in front of a board drawing all this stuff up that I'm talking about tonight. And hopefully, sorry, I'm moving around a little bit. Hopefully we can play that for you guys, and you can have that as a tool to go back and listen to. I can promise you that this recording tonight, this video that we're doing, this live that we're doing now, is something you're going to want to go back and listen to again and again and again. I can promise you that. So if we were going to talk about health, we got to talk about DNA. And by the way, DNA is it's in the news everywhere right now. I mean, all we hear about is RNA and mRNA and DNA, and people are asking questions now more than ever. I mean, they're asking questions now more than ever. For such a time as this is why we're here together. So let's talk a little bit about the number one thing, and let's break some things down. Let's talk about your DNA, your single nucleotide polymorphisms, your SNP, your SNPs. So remember this, your SNP, your SNP, which makes up about 10% of your genetics. Anywhere between 1% to 10% of your genetics is from your SNP, your single nucleotide polymorphisms. Remember, that DNA component comes from mom and dad. Half mama, half dad comes in, and you're here now. That's 10% maximum of your genetic makeup. And that's so important. And that's what we can test. We can test that with our Buccal Swab test. Many of you have done these tests. We can measure your DNA. We can send it off to the lab. The lab then can measure it. Then we can get you back your report and say, okay, here's what's going on. Here's where you're at. And when we have glitches in those polymorphia, those nucleotides and the SNPs, if we have a glitch in there, we can support your glitches through nutrition, which is the nutrition. And I love that name, by the way. The more I say it, the more I talk to people about it, they're like, that makes so much sense. It's your nutrition. It's the nutrition for you. It's Eric Naputi's blend for Eric Naputi. It's John Doe's blend for John Doe. It's Ron Green's blend. It's Paula's blend. It's Holly's blend. All of you. It's your individual blend for you based off of your genetic glitches. And that's 10% of your total DNA makeup. That's why it's so important. And by the way, I got to tell you, it's so simple. It's so simple for people to, when we explain that to folks, for them to go, yeah, that makes sense. And then they go, why has nobody ever done that before? And the reason why is because the technology didn't exist. I mean, I remember 20 years ago when I first started in practice, we didn't have certain technologies. I couldn't measure and map out brains like I do now. We couldn't look at blood the way that we do now 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So it's so easy when you have the conversation of, hey, let me ask you a question. This is literally the conversation I have with people in the community. If there was an affordable, convenient, and effective way to find out what nutrition specifically that you needed, and you could support that nutrition with taking a nutritional product, one product, either a couple pills a day or a scoop of your powder, and that's what you needed. Would you like to know about that? Would you like to know about your individual imbalances? And would you like to know about what you can do from a lifestyle standpoint and from a nutrition to fix it? Everybody goes, well, yeah. And by the way, just so you know, when we started doing genetic testing in our practices years ago, I mean, in order to have our patients get a genetic test, it was anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000 for a genetic test. Like, holy cow. You think about it, if you remember back in the day, back in the 90s, when the very first bag phones, portable phones, cell phones came out, those giant phones that were like $2,000, and it was like $9 million a month to have a phone plan. And now the phones are like this, and they're still expensive, but You can literally do everything and anything on these. So what I'm telling you, as technology improves, the cost improves. And the fact that we can do the genetic testing for a couple $100 as opposed to a couple $1,000 is mind-blowing in itself. Because an S&P is a one and done test. It's a one and done opportunity. So you got your baseline buccal swab. We know the nutrition of you. Now here's what else is the number two. Number one, I told you about SNPs. Number two is your bacterial DNA. I want you to get these terms down. Your bacterial DNA. Somebody write down bacterial DNA. Bacterial DNA is your microbiome. Your microbiome. Did you know there's over 100 trillion cells in your body? These 100 trillion cells that are bacteria, not human cells. There are more bacteria cells in your body than there are your own human cells in your body. That bacterial DNA is such an important thing. That bacteria is on your skin. It's in every orifice of your body, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, every organ, every hole, every area, every recess of your body. And it is vitally important. And so if we talk about nature, which is mom and dad giving you your genetics, that's what your S&Ps are. That's your nature from mom and dad. And nurture is your lifestyle. That's environment. Your bacterial DNA is affected by your environment. And by the way, does anybody know what happens if your good bacteria, if your bacterial environment gets out of balance? You get sick. And by the way, your bacterial DNA, which is the second part we're going to talk about, which is the gut component, which is the bacteria of your body, which is so important. That's upwards of 90% of your total DNA, upwards of 90%. So your S&P is about 10%. Your bacterial DNA is about 90%. So between those two characteristics, if we can get your nutrition balanced out in your body and we can get your bacterial DNA supported like it's supposed to be, we're sitting really pretty when it comes to health. Then we just got to fill in the blanks with all the little stuff. And then people have to do this for long enough time to make a change. Now, I'm going to say this quite a few times, but I want you to hear this. Number one, your bacterial DNA affects your S&P. Your S&P DNA affects your bacterial DNA. It's a big cycle. Everything in your body is connected. The mind, the body, the soul, it's all connected. So if you don't have good, healthy bacterial DNA, which comes from your environment, your foods, your stress, and all that stuff, you can't be healthy. Now, does anybody know where the very first bacteria that people are exposed to in their environment comes from? When a human comes to this world, when a human comes from their mother out of the womb and they go down the vaginal canal, several things happen when the baby goes down the vaginal canal. Number one, it's the stretch receptors on the skin start to get stretched out. That activates the immune system. That activates certain organ function. That actually activates the skin so that the skin, which is the largest organ in your body, can turn on so it's ready to go outside of that protected environment. And when you go down that vaginal canal, and what's in that vaginal canal is all this healthy bacteria. And it gets in your eyes, up your nose, in your mouth, in your ears, and it gets in your body. And that's the first dose of good, healthy bacteria. The problem is now 68 to 70% of births are cesarean sections, which happens. My 3 children were C-section delivery babies. I mean, we were told that my wife would have trouble getting pregnant in the first place. We fixed that. We fixed that pretty quick, actually. But I knew that they needed that bacteria. So what do? I made sure they got stretched. I made sure that bacteria was stretched all over their body and it got in their eyes and their nose and their mouth. That's one of the reasons why I feel my children are so healthy. But if you didn't have that exposure, if your kids didn't have that exposure, there's so many things that you can do to fix that. Now I want to talk to you about the bacterial DNA just a little bit. I know I've talked to you about this a little bit before, but the importance of this needs to be hammered home so hard that you get it. Because when I get done talking about DNA, the science of you, when I talk about S&P, SNP DNA from mom and dad, and I talk about bacterial DNA from your gut and your environment, when I lay all this stuff out, and those are the two keys, those are the two big keystones to overall functional health of your body, because those two big, huge components to your body, to your health, and to you as an organism will predicate the function of the health of your cells, which then downstream goes everything. But so many people, because we're so indoctrinated in the fact that, hey, I've got an upset stomach, I've got colitis, I've got Crohn's, I've got autoimmune issues. You're focusing over here on your symptoms when we need to be focusing over here on the cause. So let's talk a little bit about the bacterial DNA, the bacterial aspect, what you can do to help your own DNA. This is important, the bacterial aspect. Now understand, if you get an imbalance in the gut bacteria in the body, which is very common. Remember, 95% of people that eat the Western type diet don't have enough fiber in their system. They don't have enough right fiber. They don't have enough prebiotics. If they don't have enough prebiotics, they're not going to help make enough probiotics. If they don't have enough probiotics, they're not going to make short chain fatty acids. They're going to have dysbiosis, dysbacteriosis, imbalance in good and bad bacteria. And what else they're going to have is leaky gut. You're not going to have one without the other. They go together like peas and carrots. And so what are the three things that really lead to imbalances in bacterial DNA? Number one is stress. When you're under stress, your brain, the sympathetic nervous system, the gas pedal gets stuck on go. And the brake pedal that allows you to rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal goes on whoa. It doesn't work. So you're go, 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 fight or flight response, pedal to the metal. Your brain can't shut off. Well, how many of you know when you get stressed out? What's the universal sign for being stressed out? People either do this or they do this. Hand on their head, hand on their belly. Because when you're stressed out, it affects your gut bacteria and your nervous system first and foremost. So stress, we know, is the number one killer of all men and women on the planet. We know that. We know that to be a fact. However, stress is not the only causing factor with this. So if you're under stress, there's a good chance that you have bacterial imbalances. And you need to support those. And the more stress you're under, the more support you need. I had a patient say to me today, Dr. Naputi, my levels of iron, this is a blood test we did, and thyroid were horrible a year ago. Now they're perfect. Do I still need to take these supplements? My answer is you only need to take those supplements as long as you want to keep those blood levels perfect. Because supplements are there to supplement your lifestyle. When you don't have stress, you don't need supplements. When you have more stress, you need more supplementation. So stress is one big component, but then the standard American diet, the SAD, standard American diet, is the second component. Now you need to understand this. Foods in our diet, things like GMO foods. And I got to tell you, Monsanto, which is now Bayer, is right in my backyard here. I used to do lectures there all the time. And when they came out with glyphosate and Roundup Ready stuff, and we said, look, this is not good for your GI tract. It's going to poke holes in your intestines. It's going to cause the permeability of the cells to open up and allow the toxins to get out, which is going to cause fibromyalgia, joint pain, all kinds of sickness, disease, and suffering. They said, and it's always funny who they are because a lot of times we don't ever know really who they are, but they are the powers that be and the people that be said, oh, no, you can't talk that way about GMO foods. Well, now we know without a question that those foods, that glyphosate food or that glyphosate chemical destroys the gut bacteria. We know that. There's no question about it. So if you're eating non-GMO foods, which remember, I mean, when we were kids, there was no GMO and organic. It was just food. You remember that? It was just food. We need to get back to having just food. So if you have the standard American diet and you're eating the glyphosate, that's a problem. You're getting a lot of processed foods, that's a problem. You know, red dyes, yellow dyes, food colorings, all that stuff destroys the gut bacteria and the microflora, which remember, if it destroys that, it's going to hurt your DNA. If your DNA is not working and producing like it's supposed to because of external or internal stresses, you have more prone to cellular death and destruction, which is going to lead to tissue damage, organ damage, which leads to symptoms. It's not just about diverticulitis or heartburn or indigestion. It's about going on a cellular and a genetic correction, or a correction is really not the best word. It's support and supplementation. Because when you got those SNPs, you got to support those glitches. We're never going to cure that. That's not even a word we can even use in our vocabulary because it doesn't even make sense with this. And by the way, you don't cure your bacterial DNA. This is not like, oh, I'm fixed and it's good and it's over. No, this is like a for life deal, because stress is always going to be there. The standard American diet is also always going to be there. And the last thing that kills the gut bacteria are drugs, and primarily antibiotics. And I want to be real clear with this. I'm not an anti-drug doctor. We have a lot of patients in our practices that are on medications. We work very diligently to try to get them off of those medications. I believe the higher quality physicians are those that help our patients get back to balance, back to homeostasis, and get them off of their drugs that are only really supposed to be used temporarily while we're trying to fix the root cause of the problem. And remember, the main drug that bothers our gut bacteria, which then bothers our bacterial DNA, is our antibiotics. And people might say, oh, I don't take antibiotics. Well, the average American is on 3 prescriptions of antibiotics a year. And one antibiotic prescription, even a 5-day or a 7-day antibiotic pack, can destroy your good, healthy microbiome and good, healthy bacteria for up to 12 to 18 months. That's one dose. If you're on 2 a year, that puts you in a bad position. If you're doing 3, that's even worse. And the problem is, most doctors that are out there go, hell, you got a ear infection, antibiotic. You got an upset stomach or a sore throat, antibiotic. It's kind of like let's just try this and see what happens. It reminds me of that movie, A Big Fat Greek Wedding, when they put Windex on everything. But there's antibiotics in the food we eat. You know, the vast majority of beef, poultry, turkeys, all this stuff, eggs that are out there have antibiotics in them. So you've got to change the foods and the ways that you eat, because if you don't, you're never going to get those antibiotics out of your system. And you may do that, but here's the reality. You have antibiotics in our water supply. We're never going to be able to avoid all these medications. People don't understand how this works. If you take a medication, an antibiotic, and you go to the bathroom, that goes through the sewer waste system, that then gets cleaned out. And then when it comes back and gets recycled through, there's certain chemicals that don't get filtered out all the way, and antibiotics and other drugs and hormones are others of them. So fixing, let's talk about things you can do to fix the gut bacteria. Well, number 1, this is so important. Please write this down. Gut bacteria support 101. There's 3 main things I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you advice on right now that is so beneficial, that I've literally helped hundreds of thousands of people over my career by just explaining this to them. So number 1, you've got to have a prebiotic. Prebiotics are think about it like this. Prebiotics are the fertilizer to fuel the good, healthy bacteria. The good, healthy bacteria is really what we want. We want that good microbiome in our body. That microbiome helps us break down foods, helps us make hormones, helps us make neurotransmitters, make our brain good and make us feel great. And all this other great stuff happens, makes our skin good and our organs work and our metabolism work like it's supposed to, if we've got a good microbiome. The problem is this, is most people, because the standard American diet is extremely void of good, healthy prebiotic foods, we've got to supplement that. Well, that's where our Happy Tide formula comes in. I mean, you got your nutrition that's going to support your DNA and your S&Ps that mom and dad gave you. We got that. That's established. That's huge. This is the second big piece of the puzzle. So in the Happy Tides formula, is a prebiotic. And it has different types of fiber. It has soluble, insoluble, and fermented fibers. That's why sometimes when people take a Happy Tide, because of the fermented fibers that are in it, and that's why we use the acai gum, the gum fibers, because we have to have a fermentable fiber. That's the kind that works. That's the kind that has been proven to be the number 1 best support that we know of right now to support good, healthy microbacteria, the probiotics. So, by the way, if somebody takes a Happy Tide and they get bloatiness or gassiness, that's usually because they're killing off the bad bacteria. The die-off is happening, and when things die off, bloating, gas, and distension can happen. Take an enzyme with it. Take an enzyme with your Happy Tide. That knocks it out 9 out of 10 times. Good, healthy, multi-enzyme with amylase, lipase, and protease, game changer. Remember, over the age of really 25, but 35 is when we notice it the most, we start to get enzyme deficiency in the body. So you got to have number one. Write this down. You got to have a number one. You got to have a good happy tide. Now remember, we got different flavors. This one's actually my favorite. This chocolate flavor is ridiculous. This is like chocolate crack in my house. It's crazy how fast this goes. But this has also the nucleotides in it. So the nucleotides are going to support, remember, listen to this. Nucleotides support DNA. It's the basic fundamental building blocks of RNA and DNA. You got to have that. If you don't have the nutrients to support that, then we got problems, okay? So here's your prebiotic formula. Now the prebiotic needs to be mixed with number two, which is going to be fermented foods. I need you to be playing with and start eating and just start messing with different types of fermented foods. Things like, I talk about sauerkraut. I talk about quinoa, all the different, I see you guys talking about fermented foods, all the different fermented foods that are out there. I'm on a fermented beet kick right now. You can make fermented anything. Not beer, sorry, but you need fermented healthy foods. Fermented vegetables are amazing. If you've got fermented foods in your system, and remember, in the earth formula, there's probiotics that are in there, and there's fermented mushrooms and other things in there. So that's a really great source of that. But in your diet, please remember, we're not going to out supplement a poor diet. You have got to do your part by watching what you eat, putting the right stuff in your body to nourish your body, having that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you're doing the right things. 20% of the time you're doing the things that you enjoy doing. But let's be honest, you enjoy being healthy and feeling well and living a long, productive life, right? Amen to that. So you got to have a prebiotic mixed with fermented foods. Eating fermented foods are amazing. And then number three, you got to have a postbiotic. Remember, prebiotics mixed with probiotics to make short chain fatty acids. That's what BioMyX is. So if you're on the nutrition formula, and you should be, and if it was my way and I was the new appointed health czar of the world, which I don't know, maybe someday I might get a call for that. They say, Dr. Naputi, if there were two things and two things only that you could do to help people improve their health and nothing else, and you can help all these people at once, what would it be? I'd say, number one, we need to test their single nucleotide polymorphisms, their SNPs, and we need to support them with lifestyle changes and nutrition individually for their individual S&P glitches. Number one, that's number one. Number two, I'd put every man, woman, and child on these two products, a prebiotic and the postbiotic. This is already it right here. This will heal and seal and help support gut activity, and this will help your gut microbiome on a level that you can't believe. I have a new front desk office person in one of my offices that I was actually in today. And I just started her on these two products. She just started on these. And she literally said to me at like 4:00 this afternoon, she goes, hey, I got to ask you a question. What's in that stuff? And she knows because I just explained it all to them at lunch today. The conversation I'm having with you right now is the conversation I had during our team training that we did from noon to 1:30 today. And we talked about this, and I said, well, one of the things it does is it helps the gut. Why do you ask? She goes, because I feel really like, and she really even said this, I'm not even kidding you. She goes, I feel really like, I'm almost euphoric. It's literally what she said. And why was that? Because when she got the gut, the nutrients it needed, she had a serotonin dump. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter for motivation and feeling good. And she's like, I just feel really great right now. And because her body has never had this before. So if we can put the prebiotic with the postbiotic, and if you'll please start eating fermented foods, at least one serving a day. I eat 2 meals a day. Some days I eat 1 meal a day, and I always have a serving of fermented foods with me. It is so important to have that as much as you possibly can, because those together, the fermented foods will mix with the prebiotics to help support your probiotic activity and support that microbiome in your body. Does that make sense? If we could just do those two things and those two things alone, it would literally be a game changer, literally a game changer for men, women, and children across the globe. You guys understand that? So then what we got to understand, I mean, that right there is just so big. That is just so big. But then if I can get you to and here's the key pieces. I got your DNA supported with your nutrition. I got that covered. That's awesome. We got your microbiome supported by eating the right foods, the fermented foods, avoiding the standard American diet the best you can, knowing that you're never going to avoid it 100%, but having a prebiotic and probiotic that you can have on a daily basis. You got your 3 core that you got to have right there. Now we can talk about epigenetics a little bit more. And epigenetics are the other systems of the body. The epigenetic systems of the body are your cardiovascular system, your immune system, all the other systems, the hormonal systems of the body. If you don't have proper support of your DNA, which you now know, so many of you have been hearing me speak now for almost 2 years about the importance of gut health and bacteria. But what most people didn't realize was what I really was talking about was getting leaky gut supported, healed, and sealed, supporting the microbiome in the body. That bacterial DNA is now going to support our single nucleotide polymorphism DNA, our DNA that we get from our mother and our father. Does that make sense? You guys, give me a thumbs up if you guys are tracking me on this. I want to make sure that you're still with me. You understand what's going on. You guys getting something out of this? You enjoying this? This making sense? You understand this is how simple this is? How many of you know people that should be listening to this right now? How many of you know doctors, and how many of you know family members and loved ones? This is so simple. It's almost so simple, stupid that, like, why wouldn't we do this? It's almost like, duh. Well, that makes total sense. We have all the data and research to back all this up. Remember, the information that we now have on bacterial DNA and how it supports the entire ecosystem of our body, including supporting our S&P genetics and how the nutrition that we can take to support our S&Ps, it just makes so much sense. And you mix that with a decent diet, then you move your body, because we're made to move. Our bodies are made to move. Most people have a movement deficiency. A guy by the name of Roger Sperry won a Nobel Prize back in the 1980s. He found the #1 nutrient to the brain, which, by the way, people are so worried about Alzheimer's, dementia, all those neurological issues. Movement of the body is the #1 nutrient to the brain. So every day you should go for a walk. You should 20 minutes move your body. You don't have to go to the gym and crush yourself. If you want to do that, go do it and support yourself based off of the stress you put on your body. But movement is the key. That's one of the things I love. One of the degrees I have, what I practice, is in chiropractic. Chiropractors move the joints. That stimulates the brain. It frees up the nervous system. So movement is so important, it's not even funny. Now, when we talk about other epigenetics like the cardiovascular system and the hormonal system and all these other systems that are out there, it really comes down to eating well, moving well, thinking well, sleeping well, and being well. And we have support on all that stuff. But if you'll just take the first steps, and the first steps that are out there are, #1, doing the genetic testing. Find out where you're at, getting that report back. Man, people love the reports. It's all about them. All people want to know about is them, especially when they're at their most vulnerable, and that's talking about their health. So if you can do that genetic test, have your friends and family do the genetic test. I mean, people's minds are blown by the simplicity of all of this. It's a game changer. But then supporting the bacterial DNA, if you'll do that, and really understand the importance of moving your body. And then hydration. We talk about this all the time. You guys, I talk about living water. I want you drinking living water. You know, there's so many toxins that are in the environment right now. The average person is exposed to over 500 to 800 different toxins in the environment every single day. And if we don't get the toxins out of our cells, that's going to cause damage to the cells, which then ultimately causes damage to the tissues and etc. So we got to pull those toxins out, and we have products and formulas for that. I mean, the pre-trition and the earth and all the other things we have help start that process. But the reality is this, is that health is not just about taking supplements. It's about living a healthy lifestyle. Wouldn't you agree with that? The supplements we have supplements that can supplement the glitches in your SNPs. We have supplements that can supplement and support your bacterial DNA. Now, if you'll just move well, breathe well, hydrate well, and sleep well, it'll be a game changer. So let's talk about hydration a little bit, because right now there's so many toxins in the water that are out there. I would encourage everybody, and I'm not going to get into deep tonight on water systems and filtration and all this kind of stuff. I'm a big fan of getting the toxins and crap out of out of the water and putting good minerals back into it and drinking real water. I mean, if you think about the water that God put on the planet for us to drink, it's spring water coming out of the earth, going over the moss and going over the rocks, and natural filtration from the minerals that are in there, and drinking that healthy spring water, that healthy mineralized water is huge. So I'm going to challenge all of you to try to get at least 2 liters of water into your body every day. And I'm going to challenge you to with those 2 liters of water that you do every day, I'm going to challenge you to put a half of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt in that 2 liter of water. And I'm going to challenge you to take a lemon and cut it in half and squeeze it in that water, stir that water up, and that's what you're drinking out of in a 24-hour day. You do that. 2 liters is all I'm asking you to do. People need way more than that in their diet, but if you just start with that right there, most people can do that. And what that water will do, that will hydrate you. That I call that living water. That's living water. And if you hydrate yourself, I mean, again, 75 to 85% of our body, depending upon what textbook you read and who you talk to, is made up of water. And the problem is most of us we're not sick, we're dehydrated. And you can drink a whole gallon of water every day and still be dehydrated if you don't have the right minerals in it. In fact, I proved a point to one of my offices, my teams, this week on Monday. I went and bought a bunch of different types of waters. All these different types of waters that are out there, and waters that are supposedly like pH high alkaline waters, 9.5, 7.5 and above. When we tested those waters, go get some litmus paper or get some drops and go test the water and see what it looks like. If the water's pH is below a 7, don't even touch it. It's acidic. You don't need to be acidic. If you are acidic, you get sick. Just think about it. To me, acidic and sick sound the same. And it blew my team's mind, because one of these waters, like a $4 bottle of water, is supposed to be like 9.5 pH, and it was a 5.5. Because you don't know how long that water is from the time that it came out of the source that it came out of to the time that you got your hands on it. You have no idea how long that water's been there. It could be a year or 2 years. And plus, with all the plastic in there, by the way, scientists are now finding that there are plastic particles in people's blood now for the first time that they've ever noticed. It's absolutely insane. 80% of the people that were studied, they found microplastics in their blood. We got to help pull that out. Don't you think that's a huge stressor on the body? That ain't supposed to be there. That's not supposed to be there. So we got to hydrate properly. And I tell people that they're drinking that 2 liters a day with a half of a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt and a half a squeeze of a lemon. Boom. Drink that all day. It's like walking around with an IV in you. Game changer. If you do that, plus you move your body, just moving it. I mean, literally just moving the body, doing some jumping jacks, walking up and down the stairs, going for a walk in your neighborhood. If you'll just do that, get outside and do it. Get outside and get exposed to the earth. Walk around in the grass barefoot, get grounded again, get back to the basics of what it is to be us. God made us, gave us our DNA, gave us the bacteria we're supposed to have, gave us the environment in which we live in, gave us living water. But man, we think we're better than what God can do. So we try to make it better. Next thing we know, we got drinking water that pH is 5.5. And we get sick because of it. We wonder why that is. So if you do those things, and breathing. I mean, breathing is so important. Most people don't breathe right. Most people are breathing with their neck muscles. Everybody just do this for me right now. Everybody sit up in a chair. Just do this. Take one hand and put it on your chest. One hand, put it on your tummy. And everybody take a deep breath in as deep as you can. Blow it out. Do it one more time. Deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. When most people breathe, they're breathing with their chest and their neck muscles. Look, I'm exaggerating, but it's what a lot of people are doing, especially women and guys that are sucking their guts in all day. Breathe with that diaphragm. Let that belly rock, man. If you don't like your belly, let's get on the right program and lose some weight. But you got to breathe with that diaphragm. Because if you're not oxygenating your body. You're going to be hypoxia, low oxygen. The cells need oxygen. The ATP, the mitochondria, needs oxygen and energy to collide together to make energy for you. Most people aren't oxygenating properly. So breathing well, look up some diaphragmatic breathing exercises. Look up some Wim Hof breathing exercise. I'm a big fan of diaphragmatic deep breathing, relaxation, meditation, in through the nose, out through the mouth, breathing exercise. Huge. And then we got to sleep well. And we've got some amazing products that can help balance out your sleep that are unlike anything else that's out there. But if you're not sleeping well, your body doesn't go into healing mode. There are different brain waves, and I've taught you guys this before about different brain waves and how we need to get into that deep brainwave sleep, that deep delta sleep. We got to get into relaxation and the theta and that deep delta, and our body goes through these circadian waves all night long. But if you have trouble falling asleep, that's a problem. If you have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, that's another problem. And we got to get our circadian cycles balanced back again, because we're so out of balance and so out of homeostasis. What happens is when we go to sleep, first of all, let me back up. When we wake up in the day and we start living life, we start to get stressed. School, get the kids ready for school. You got to deal with people at work. You got to pay bills. You got to do all this stuff. You got to fight traffic. You got whatever your stresses are, right? Physical, chemical, emotional stresses, right? All day long, you're getting stressed. You get home, you're supposed to mellow that out a little bit. And then when you go to bed, it's supposed to reset. If you're not sleeping well, you're not healing. If you're not sleeping well, you're not going to that deep healing phase where the body shuts down the sympathetic, where the gas pedal starts to come down and the brake pedal really goes up high. That allows your body to rest, relax, grow, develop, and heal. Healing happens when we rest. But you got to have the right nutrients in your body when you rest. You want to make sure you have the right nutrients, the right ingredients that the body needs to take it to the cells and to actually heal the tissues when we rest. That's why it's so important to support your single nucleotide polymorphism DNA. It's also so important to support the bacterial DNA of your body. That's what it's all about. Eat well, think well, move well, breathe well, sleep well, and you'll be well. And that's the other thing too. Don't be trapped by the mind. If you go back and you look in some of the definitions of the word devil, it means bad thoughts. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're walking around and there was a megaphone coming out about all the thoughts that you were thinking about yourself and other people, man, you probably not be in a good position right now. If people knew the things that you said about yourself, they'd probably kick your butt for talking about yourself that way. Surround yourself with good, strong, noble people that can build you up in good and strong and noble thought, and build yourself up in good, strong, noble thought. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but we all have got to take time for ourselves and chill and reflect and just be still and listen to that small, still voice within us. Maybe you meditate, maybe you pray, maybe you fast, maybe you do all those things. Make sure you're taking time for you. I mean, listen, this is all about you. If you don't take care of you, you can't help bless the world. It's about the nutrition. It's about the bacterial DNA support nutrition that we can do with our prebiotics. Boom, right here. And our postbiotics. And it's about eating fermented foods. It's about moving well, sleeping well, thinking well, eating well, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I know I'm throwing a whole lot at you guys, but I need you to understand that health is truly a balance of physical well-being, chemical well-being, and neurological, emotional well-being. And once we understand that when we get the gut right, we can actually connect the brain back into the gut. Because remember, if you got a leaky gut, you got a leaky brain. And that's a big thing you need to remember. If you have a leaky gut, you have a leaky brain. And I'm a big fan of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and supplements. But ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have the basic fundamentals to support your DNA, your SNP, and your bacterial DNA, all that other stuff is not going to work the way it's supposed to. And by the way, I'm finding in my practices that all the other stuff that we once needed, we don't need as much anymore if we do the baseline stuff like we're supposed to, support our epigenetics, eat for our body type and lifestyle, think well, move well, breathe well, sleep well, and we'll be well. That's what it's all about, you guys. So you guys learned something tonight? Has this been good? You guys enjoying this so far? We got a couple minutes left. I can't believe how fast these workshops go. But I hope you guys will be smart, and I hope you'll go back and listen to this again and again and again, because this is just basic principle fundamentals. We can dive deeper. We can dive so much deeper and talk about so many things. And I love to go as deep as you all want to go. I'll go as far down this rabbit hole with educating you as you want, because there's not a whole lot when it comes to health and wellness that I can't go into. I mean, our team is so vast. Our scientific advisory board and the people that are here to support you and support us together are so, we're just in this to win this. We know that we literally can change the way that healthcare is delivered and received. And I've been talking about changing the way healthcare is delivered and received now for almost 15 years, almost 2 decades. And every day we keep getting closer and closer to the mountaintop and changing the way that the world is. But now we have the keys to the kingdom. We have the tools and the resources and the proprietary products that nobody else on the planet has. And this is something that, quite honestly, is mind-blowing when people totally, truly understand this. But I want to know what you want to know. We're here to support you. So I want you to get with the people that got you on this call, and I want you to get together. I want you to know, I want you to let me know, and let Nurse Andy know, and let your upline know, and let your leadership know. Let us know what are the things that you want to have covered. Because if I know what direction we want to go, I can help steer and guide the ship. And we together, all of us together, can work together to make sure we're getting to where we need to be. Because some of you, the stuff I talked about tonight, you've heard 1,000 times. And it was just more reiteration and more like, yep, I knew I was right. Dang it, I knew this was perfect. But some of you, this is like, holy cow, what's he talking about? This is way over my head stuff. It's all good. We together can go down this path. I want you to, I'm literally talking to you the way that I train my team and I train my doctors. Because common sense, unfortunately, is not that common. But the truth will set you free if you'll let it. So many more things that I want to discuss tonight. I do want to make a mention about one thing. And Tony Freeman talks about this all the time. We always talk about this all the time. All of us do. But not only do we got to support the genetics, the nutrition, we got to do the right gut, bacterial formation foods, eat well, think well, move well, breathe well, sleep well. But we also have to work on detoxifying our body. And we have opportunities to detox through hydration, through the right foods. I mean, Tony's not kidding. Many of you who have experienced the earth, maybe you'll give me a thumbs up on this, but the amount of nutritional fiber and the amount of nutritional just value in that formula helps those bowels move so good. That's what grabs all the clutter out of the intestinal tract. You got to have something to get it out. That's our mechanism. If you're not hydrating, you can't detoxify. If you're not having good, healthy bowel movements, you're not going to detoxify. If you're not sweating well, you're not going to detoxify. So we got to detox our body. We've got formulas and products and all that kind of stuff that have, that's right, everybody knows, 2-foot floaters. I don't think I'm ever going to live that down. Oh my gosh. But listen, I want you guys to understand that we're in this together to win this, okay? So please just keep it simple tonight. Think about your S&P, your SNP DNA. We can support that through nutrition for you. Number 2, we're going to support the bacterial DNA. That together, that's 10% and 90%. That's almost all of your genetics and DNA that we know about. We can support that through lifestyle changes and the nutrition that we offer. Nobody else has anything like this on the planet. Many have tried, and they're not where we're at. We are so far ahead of the curve, it's not even funny. And then you put those other things into place that we talked about: drinking the living water, eating the fermented foods, getting the right amount of sleep, hydrating like you're supposed to, moving that body, resting, prayer, meditation, chilling out, having some chill out time. And you're right, having those 2-foot floaters. All right, guys. I hope you all enjoyed tonight. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you had some fun. Give me some thumbs up if you want to hear more stuff like this, because I'll keep bringing it. Let me see it. There you go. Good. Good. All right, guys. Well, let me just tell you something. I love and appreciate you more than you know. I can't wait till next week. I believe myself and Nurse Andy are going to be on with you next week, just tearing it up, having some fun. Dr. Epitropoulos will be joining me soon after that. We'll be bringing more amazing guests on as well. But we together, we're here to support you. So I want to make sure you understand this fundamental of what I've laid out tonight, because if you understand this fundamental, this is the key. This is what everybody needs. And together we can make sure they do that. So until we meet again, God bless you. God bless America. God bless the world. Love and appreciate you. I'll see you next week. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.